Well, hello and welcome everyone to the Soothe Studio. We're still workshopping the name.
We're still working on it.
But this is our new studio we've set up where we can come and shoot videos together and hopefully record podcasts at some point. Mm-hmm. It's in the works. It's in the works.
It's in the works. Hopefully less traffic noise.
Yes, we're trying to soundproof it. It's a process. But today we're excited to talk a little bit about the spiritual development process, especially as it relates to trauma recovery and chronic illness recovery.
Absolutely.
Great.
Key component.
Yes. Well, and with that, I'm going to start by sharing a little bit of my own story. I've touched on it briefly a number of times, but usually I just kind of share it in passing. But I've been trying to be more open and authentic with how much I share about myself and my journey and my personal life, because I'm really finding that it's that personal flavor that actually helps people the most, that people can kind of relate to the most. So I had a massive spiritual awakening as a part of my healing journey. And it's a piece of my journey that I don't often share a lot about because of how spiritual issues can be so personal and intimate and kind of a emotional minefield, I think, for a lot of people. But so I often talk about it as like, oh, I worked on my trauma a lot, or I did a lot of nervous system regulation as a part of my healing journey. And that's true. I mean, I did that too. But really, it was a spiritual recovery. And part of it is I kind of like snuck in the back door to it because I did start by recognizing that I needed to heal my nervous system and I needed to let go of trauma and resentment that I had been holding on to. I recognized this was a part of my illness development, that trauma and chronic illness were totally tied together in my chronic nervous system dysregulation. I was a nervous system focused therapist, so I recognized that a lot of my symptoms were related to being in a chronic freeze response, and so I knew I needed to come out of it. So I started doing nervous system regulation, and I started meditating. And through doing these nervous system regulation and meditative practices, I think you would say I just like crashed down into alpha theta.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Slow and present, and yeah. Yeah.
So I think I went from being in like high beta brainwaves, like constantly just stressed and rigid and
anxious.
Anxious, and probably too much delta too, like probably inopportune delta.
In the frontal lobe, probably.
In the frontal lobe, just being like frozen and rigid and not seeing possibilities and potentials. And as I started doing these practices, I really gave it my all. Like I really invested in these practices, the TRE, and then the meditation, and I think I just like crashed into a new brain state, which opened up spontaneously some very mystical experiences. So I would have these very spontaneous shifts of consciousness when I was meditating and doing my TRE tremoring, where I just started experiencing myself, my soul, my mind, the universe, as a different way. Started having experiences of God or a source energy that were so palpable and so real. And I had never really had such dramatic experiences like that before, especially sober, right? So I was like completely sober during this period and was having these experiences, and I wasn't totally sure how to make sense of them, but I decided to just like keep going forward. And having this sense of greater purpose and seeing myself in this spiritual development process was a huge part of my chronic illness recovery. And I think we have to have this kind of spiritual awakening when we are healing from chronic illness or trauma, because when we experience illness or trauma, we are stripped away from any illusion of control that we thought we had. We're not really given a choice. We're called into this experience where we have to experience ourselves and our place in the universe in maybe a different way than we have before.
Absolutely, yeah. We have to let go of old things and grow and adapt and change and look at things in different ways to survive. Same with my personal experience. I have pretty complex trauma history myself and have been diagnosed with CPTSD, and So like that was actually one of the things that brought me to my former main profession, which was personal training, was just like noticing the effect that it had on my nervous system when I like beat myself up to the point where I was exhausted, right? Like this calming effect on my nervous system. And so it was, it became this thing where I like had to go and like, and beat myself up to get to a place where I felt quiet and calm and like comfortable in my own skin.
Like discharge so
right?
much
Discharging
energy.
the energy,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, you had so much energy in your body,
And so through that process and becoming a personal trainer and working through a lot of my own stuff, I started meditating as a way to like get myself into a quiet state without that physical punishment basically on my body that I was subjecting myself to in some cases to get there in a more intentional and gentle way. And I noticed the benefit of that for myself and even my clients, and started teaching my clients meditation as well. And that was before I found neuromeditation, which has just completely changed the game for me again.
Yeah.
But like I had struggled with chronic lifelong depression and anxiety, and and through first of all movement. I mean, movement for me was a huge game changer in just kind of helping me be grounded and figuring out how I felt. And be present, not crawling out of my skin anymore, right? Like moving in my skin instead of crawling out of it. Oh, I like that. That's pretty good. But then, like that just unlocked a lot more for me when I incorporated the meditation into it, right? It really changed my brain, and in ways that really, I mean, I feel like it cured my chronic depression.
Because that opened up a new spiritual pathway for you as well through the meditation. Is that right?
I mean, it sure did. It unlocked old spiritual pathways. You've seen what the meditation has done for me. Like it has been a reclamation.
Yeah.
Right. Like all of the old things that I loved, that I loved, came back. Like I love music again. I love art again. Like I'm drawing.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create music.
Yeah.
Like I feel creative internal energy because my lifelong depression has started to like really. The clouds have parted.
Yeah.
And what happens when we don't have that dark cloud hanging over us anymore, the illness, right, hanging over us anymore, is we can like reclaim the things that are us, right? We feel joy again. We feel connection to people again. Like we can, it's safe to be yourself.
And yet it's so ironic how it's like without that dip into the darkness, we don't always find that on the other side, right?
Absolutely. It was a very dark time in my life before that change happened. Yeah.
And that is so common that like the best artists, the best musicians, the most profound spiritual teachers, they tend to have gone through these very dark periods of trauma or violence or illness. Because then you are forced to confront these things and engage in these practices. And without this spiritual container, the trauma or illness is just going to feel like random cruelty, right? Or it's going to feel like a punishment, right? It's either going to feel like random cruelty or an intentional punishment from God. Right. And both of those things are going to just like completely hold us back.
Yeah, you have no agency when that's your framework. Yeah. Like you're not, you have no agency at all to work with that, and you're just doomed. Yeah. Right? You're just damned. Yeah. And that's not the case. Yeah, there's so much more when we can zoom out and look at things from a different perspective, right? Yeah. When we can be quiet and calm and not in our default mood network. Yeah. It's so much easier to see things differently. Yeah. Like it's not even something that is like I can't describe to you the difference night and day in how my brain works. Yeah. When I'm calm and present and grounded versus when I'm feeling crazy. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Well,
because now we're seeing that darkness, whatever it is, whether it's trauma or illness, whatever we've gone through, we see it as a teacher. And that's a concept that I see repeated over and over again by the people that I work with or the people I talk to that end up probably making the most progress or having the most significant transformations is they're no longer seeing what's happened to them as just like a cruel twist of fate you know, that it's like, oh, this is a teaching experience that I'm learning from, right? And that doesn't negate the suffering and sometimes the horror, like the true horror that people go through.
No.
You know, but I think it's important to have that perspective that, again, some of the most powerful spiritual teachers that have had, that share this kind of wisdom are people who have literally gone through horrors that most of us will never go through, like realistically. And this is not to like compare people's trauma.
My horror's worse than your horror.
No, of course not. But I think it's important to recognize that it's like, if you think that your experience means that you cannot see it this way, that is absolutely not true, because we're talking about people who have been in prison and solitary confinement for 20 years who have been able to see their experience as a teacher. People who have survived, you know, childhood lymphoma who have been able to see it as a teacher.
I mean, all of the like horrible, scary things that I have gone through in my life, and all of the times where I literally like wanted to crawl into a closet and just hide, you know, like all of that crap that I went through, I can sit and think about how horrible all of that is and feel it again right now.
Yeah.
Or I can also see all of that stuff as the thing that actually like made me change and
propelled me forward
and literally like brought me to a place where I was prepared to meet you, right? Like my whole life, like from the point where my depression lifted was actually very shortly before I met you, like maybe a couple of months where I was feeling really pretty good.
Yeah.
It was not that long.
Yeah.
And like my whole life has changed since then, and I never would have been ready.
Yeah.
You know, I never would have been prepared for our relationship and to be able to relate to you and to be in the place that I was at, where I was doing my own healing and feeling, you know, like I had been making progress and was actually ready to be able to connect to somebody on the level that we connected. I just hit my microphone thing.
That's okay. They'll forgive you.
Noise. Yeah.
But that's such a powerful concept, because we don't ever know what's coming.
It's true.
Right? And so the things that people are going through now and their experience of illness or their experience of trauma is likely preparing them for something that they're supposed to be doing.
Something greater somehow,
something that's somehow greater.
Yeah.
And it might not be greater in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to become president. It might not necessarily be like on a global scale. It might be something that's on a very small scale, just in a community or a family. But that is so important.
We're starting a
and
podcast.
So profound. Starting a podcast, you know? And what I love about this is like, this is not a new concept. You know, I love bringing up sick saints and sick shamans. You know, I mean, this is a topic that I hopefully will write a book about one day.
You're already writing a book. Let's come on.
You know, we're getting there. Hopefully we'll be able to dedicate more time to really cohesively writing a book about someday. But this is something that I come to over and over again when I'm studying these esoteric concepts, is that when people in indigenous cultures have these mysterious or ambiguous illnesses, it's seen as a call to be a shaman, and you're not given a choice. Like, you are given the role, and you basically have to accept the role in that society, is what it's considered. And so it becomes this extremely devoted path of faith. And we see this mirrored in other religious cultures as well. Like, I mean, the number of Catholic saints who were very ill as children, or had a near-death experience, or underwent some kind of brutal trauma before having their spiritual awakening. I mean, it's so many of them. And so this is actually like a well-documented concept across many different cultures, but we have really lost that esoteric meaning to our experiences. We have secularized everything and made everything into of needing a materialist explanation. And of course, like, that's all well and good when you're trying to get treatment for something acute. I mean, yeah, there's a time and a place for that, but we're missing a huge component of what recovery is actually about.
Yeah, and I feel like we can talk about that as a spiritual initiation. We already kind of said that, right?
Yeah.
Like those illnesses or those struggles, they do bring us to our higher selves, right? They're kind of like training to
Yeah.
get to what we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And even if you look at even artists, you know, lots of artists with like mental illness, and that was like maybe how they expressed themselves through their art, was kind of their mental illnesses, a little bit of a push, but they gave us like amazing things, you know, classical paintings and whatever else. And some of those guys really, really struggled with their health and whatever else
Yeah.
too. And it's like how much we try to separate our mind from our body.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's whatever our dis-ease is, whether it's a disease or it's dis-ease or mental illness, you know, whatever we want to call our traumas.
Yeah.
We're a mind and a body, and
Yeah.
we also have a spiritual component. And it doesn't matter even, I think, necessarily what name you give that.
No.
Right? We just have this need that we have to address that is more than us. And it looks different for different people, but I feel like if we just ignore that, inevitably, like something breaks down.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I hope
And
that wasn't too rambling.
not at all. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. But there's so many implications to this, because I think one thing that really trips people up that I see over and over again is they have this idea that it's like, if I just do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to become normal again.
Yeah,
and
sure.
so many people come to me for help, or other practitioners for help, and they've gone to doctors, and then they've gone to their naturopath, and now they're going to their nutritional therapy practitioners or their GAPS coach or whoever it is. You know, they're going down this line of practitioners to try to find the person who's going to make them normal again, right? Who's
Sure.
going to get them back to who they were before.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I work with are not actually ready to go through the grief process that it takes to recognize that you are being called to something. Like, you are not going to be the same person after this. And the more they resist that, the more they get stuck in their illness. Because they're obsessed with this idea of, I just need to get better, I just need to become normal again. And I feel really grateful that because I was having these mystical experiences very early on in my recovery, like, I let go of that pretty quickly and recognized, like, oh, no, I'm never going to be the same.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And that doesn't mean you're not going to get better or not going to do things that you love that you can't do now. You know, I do a lot of things now that I wouldn't have been able to do when I was very ill.
Of course,
But it's not about getting back to normal. It's not about reaching a certain goal of complete symptom remission. A lot of people get there, so it's not saying that can't happen. It often does happen, but that's no longer the point. Like, the point is not to, like, become normal, to have all these symptoms go away, is to develop more as a person.
You know what? Yeah, ideally that should be the point. And what you said about people getting hung up in that, it's kind of like that adage about if before you heal someone, make sure that they're willing to let go of the things that made them sick, right? How often have we had a client come to us and ask when they can go back to drinking wine?
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, that's really your priority? Like, you have anaphylaxis and you're worried about wine, you know? It's wild. But we need to be able to give up things sometimes that are just not working for us.
Yeah.
You know, we need to not hold on to old patterns and old attachments, you know, people and places and whatever else that are not good for us.
Yeah.
Are always going to lead us, always going to cause us to drift from our higher self, or from our center, or from God.
Yeah.
Right?
So we're talking about the spiritual development process, but obviously for some people, they may be coming to this either from a very materialist standpoint, right? Like, they're really invested in science. And,
when can I go back to drinking wine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they have a very rigid idea of what it means to be a spiritual person, right? Because of the way they were raised, maybe in a particular religion.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if we can talk a little bit about how the way we've been conditioned around spirituality and religion can actually be a block that cuts us off from what are truly the most healing and restoring practices that we can do.
Well, yeah, and just cuts us off from God in general, I think, right? Like, there was a point of time in my life that I probably wouldn't even have wanted to say that word out loud that way. Mm-hmm. You know? And it was not that long ago.
Yeah.
Once again, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say that like letting go of dogma, letting go of restrictive beliefs, either around, oh, this is what I mean about God, or this is what I don't mean about God when I say that word, like these very restrictive black and white ideas about what these words mean or what these concepts are or what that implicates. Like this all needs to be deconstructed, because again, I feel like we work with people who either are atheists or are deeply religious, who are both coming to us with ultimately the same restricted mindset, because they have this preconceived idea of like, this is what it means to be religious or to believe in God, and it actually keeps them stuck.
And honestly, like, I mean, I don't know what's in anyone's heart or their head, but I feel like some of our people that come to us as atheists are not actually atheists. They want to be atheists. They have maybe some trauma. They have a lot of pain. They have a lot of bad associations, maybe with the local church or someone in a position of power in a religious institution.
They have this very narrow, yes, and they have a very narrow idea of God that is like, well, why would these bad things happen to me if there was a loving God?
I'm a good person. I pray. You know, I do all of this, and it never worked.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. So it's this idea, God is a transactional type of God, right? So again, there's all of these deep beliefs that we have about religion and God that we may not even realize we have. And when we don't examine those and deconstruct those, it blocks us from this deeper spiritual development work that we're talking about.
Yeah, totally. And from the experience and from being able to feel, you know, even things in our bodies, I think.
Yeah.
Like even being able to be tuned in to hear my heartbeat, right? Like if I can't get quiet because I'm, it's wild.
Yeah. So deconstruction, but then reconstruction, right? Because I think we would both argue that to really develop spiritually, you have to be in a personal, individualized relationship with God. Ideally embedded within a practice or a community, right? So it's this kind of tension between finding community, finding structure, and then also having your own personal, very individual and unique relationship.
Yeah, that's the tricky part, you know, because there are some institutions that make it challenging to be yourself.
Yeah.
You know, to feel like you are worthy of God's love even.
Yeah.
I have been in, I grew up until third grade. I went to a Lutheran parochial school. And even though we didn't have nuns, we still had corporal punishment. And I have been spanked by people who are not my family members on multiple occasions. And that definitely left an impression. And having ADHD as a child and sitting through a church service for school every single day, can you imagine like the chaos? The chaos. And so yes, unmedicated, untreated ADHD as a child in a parochial school, you could say I might have a little bit of religious trauma that I unpacked and worked through around that. And
now would you say you've hit that balance of having a very individualized spirituality that's still embedded with a clear structure?
Yeah, I mean,
finding that balance?
I feel like it's I look at it like art, right? Like we copy the masters, we look at what the masters have done, and we wiggle around in our own artistic framework within that boundary, right?
That's a great metaphor.
Yeah, I mean that is exactly how I think about my spirituality. It is artistic. It is the way that I live my life.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. It's like part of me as a person. And so I try to, I look at the things artistically that I find beautiful or symmetrical or necessary. And sometimes pain is necessary too, right? Like that is, sometimes great art is made from pain.
Yeah.
And despair and all of those things. And I try to like find all of the things that feel necessary, even if I don't necessarily like them. I find all of the things that feel true and real, and then the rest of the stuff that doesn't feel true, like I believe that God is love, right? And anything that feels divisive or that feels hateful that I hear coming from a religious institution or person, like, is an immediate, like, nope.
Yeah, yeah.
See ya.
Well, I know it's so funny because we've had so many people who have come through SOAR who had very strong preconceived notions about, like, well, this is what my religion says about this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, who in your religious tradition said that?
Yeah.
Was that actually the source material?
Yeah.
Or was that someone's interpretation down the road in a very specific socio-cultural, economic context? You know, so again,
Totally.
This is the deconstruction.
Are you repeating something you saw on television, maybe even
Right.
from a televangelist, not even someone you have a personal connection
Right,
with, where you can
right.
say, you know, father or pastor or whatever,
Yeah.
like, I have a question.
Right.
Right? Just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and this is what's so funny is that there's so many of these brain retraining, meditation, nervous system regulation programs out there. And I believe that our religious and mystical traditions, our
Yes.
cultural traditions,
Absolutely.
are the OG.
They are.
Like, that's what...
And
that's
you know what?
literally what they're designed to do.
I can tell you scientific evidence that will support that. If you speak the rosary, there's a couple of very famous mystical chants that if you do them in rhythm and repetition, the way they're intended to be done, the rosary you say it a bunch of times, right? They actually put you in a pattern that increases your heart rate variability.
Yeah.
Like a breathing pattern and speech pattern, inhaling and exhaling, that improves your heart rate variability over time as a practice.
Yeah.
Like literally.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's so many examples
I
of
bet
this.
a lot of the other programs don't know that little factoid.
Yeah, yeah. So we are circling around to the point that we're about to do SOAR again, right?
Yep.
So this is why we're talking about this so much lately, is that this program we see probably the most profound results with in our clients. So people who have gone through a lot of the nutritional and detox kind of foundational support and they're ready for the next step, or people who have been trying some of those things but feel like they're missing something, right? They feel stuck.
Yeah.
So either for like a next step of healing or to like move through a stuckness that you're experiencing.
Or trauma or depression. I mean,
in illness or trauma or depression,
sure,
in
yeah,
anything.
like any of these things that get us stuck in, you know, in a nervous system state, like in a freeze state, for instance, where you're just like not connected, not feeling connected to religion, not feeling connected to other people, whatever else. Yeah.
So this program has a really intentional flow where we do some deconstruction of any religious trauma or spiritual dogma that you might be coming to the table with. We work through how that is connected to childhood trauma or developmental trauma or family trauma, community trauma that we've experienced, institutional trauma.
Continued trauma.
Yeah, continued trauma. So we do a lot of work through that. And then we continue on to actually start to develop your own spiritual practice. And so this is not to replace what you already do or already believe. It's to refine it, right? And make it more individualized.
Even to help you integrate it, right?
Help you integrate it.
Perfect example is my example I love to give so much about feeling gratitude before you eat, and how my family, when I was young, we would sit and say our prayers before meals, and it was a chore. We're knocking out this prayer. Let's hurry up and get this done so we can eat.
Yeah.
And nobody felt present.
Right.
Nobody felt like we weren't having a loving conversation over our meal and feeling grateful that God brought us together, and none of those things were present in our daily prayer.
Right. So how do you implement this? How do you implement these tools to actually be the effective nervous system tools that they are meant to be in your life? How do you find purpose in your experiences?
And what are the religious tools that we can tell you specifically, like, this is a nervous system healing tool that has been put in place for a reason?
Yeah.
Like we can quantify those things too.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really fun.
So we have a couple different options. We have the more intensive version, which is group coaching plus one-on-one sessions with me and Mike to deepen the experience. But we also are offering it as a group coaching only program for people who maybe don't want to dedicate that much time to it, but are still really interested in going through the curriculum and learning these tools.
Yeah.
Great. So September 23rd is the last day to apply. The first class is on September 27th, so I encourage you to, I'll put the link to apply down in the description, and this was a lovely conversation.
It was a lovely conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining me in our beautiful new studio.
Yeah, please comment if you have any thoughts or personal experiences of the kind of things we're talking about. We'd love to hear.
Absolutely. Thank you.